The wind howled through the canyons like a wounded beast, carrying with it the whisper of destiny. Beneath the burning sun of the Arizona desert, each one proud, each one ready to fight for honor, for glory, and for the heart of one woman, Aiyana. Aiyana was no ordinary girl. Her spirit burned brighter than the desert sun itself. But today, her heart was a battlefield, a lone cowboy, scarred by the world, who had once saved her from death. The council had spoken. Whoever proves his worth in combat shall win Aiyana's hand. And so the 12 warriors gathered, painted in the colors of war, their weapons glinting like the eyes of the gods. The drums began to beat, slow, deep, like the pulse of the earth itself. But far beyond the circle, a lone rider watched from the ridge. He didn't belong in their world, yet something in Aiyana's eyes had chained his soul to hers. He knew he shouldn't be there, but the heart doesn't ask permission. When the first spear struck the dust, the battle began. Warriors clashed, their cries echoing through the desert. Dust and sweat mixed with the smell of courage. Yet even among the roaring crowd, Aiyana's gaze never wavered. She wasn't watching the fight, she was watching the man in the distance, the cowboy who had no right to be part of her world, yet every reason to be in her heart. As the sun dipped lower, the last 2 warriors fell to their knees, defeated. Silence swept the camp. The chief turned to Aiyana and spoke. "Choose, child. The one who fought hardest, or the one your heart calls to." Every eye turned to her. Her breath trembled. Slowly, she raised her hand. The warriors held their breath, expecting her to choose among them. But instead, her arms stretched past them, past the circle, past the smoke, pointing straight at the ridge, at the cowboy. The desert gasped. The wind howled through the canyons like a wounded beast, carrying the whisper of destiny. Beneath the burning sun of the Arizona desert, 12 warriors stood in a circle of dust, the finest of the Apache tribes, ready to fight for the heart of one woman, Aiyana. She was no ordinary girl. Her spirit burned brighter than the desert sun, but her heart was torn between duty and the quiet storm that had entered her. Life a lone cowboy, scarred by the world, who had once saved her. The council had spoken. Whoever proved his worth in combat would win Aiyana's hand. The 12 warriors gathered, painted for war, weapons glinting like the eyes of gods. The drums began to beat slow, deep, like the pulse of the earth. Far beyond the circle, a lone rider watched from the ridge. His name was Cole Tanner, a drifter, a gunman with a past soaked in blood. He didn't belong in their world, yet something in Aiyana's eyes had chained his soul. When the first spear struck the dust, the battle began. Warriors clashed, their cries echoing through the desert. Dust and sweat mixed with the smell of courage. Yet even among the roaring crowd, Aiyana's gaze never wavered. She wasn't watching the fight, she was watching the man in the distance. As the sun dipped lower, the last 2 warriors fell. Silence swept the camp. The chief turned to Aiyana. "Choose, child. The one who fought hardest, or the one your heart calls to." Her breath trembled. Slowly, she raised her hand, and every eye followed as she pointed past the circle, past the smoke straight at the cowboy. The desert gasped. The drums fell silent. Cole Tanner sat motionless on his horse, knowing what her gesture meant and what it would cost her. The chief thundered, "You choose the stranger?" Aiyana's voice was calm. "I choose the one who saw me not as a prize, but as a person." Cole dismounted, stepping into the circle. "I didn't come to steal anything," he said. "She deserves to choose her fate." The chief nodded grimly. "Then you face the judgment of the desert. At dawn, you will prove your heart." That night, under a sky of endless stars, Cole sat alone by the fire. Somewhere beyond the dunes, Aiyana whispered a prayer to the wind. Tomorrow, the desert would decide if love was stronger than fear. Dawn broke like fire spilling over the horizon. The desert stretched silent and endless, its golden sands shimmering under the first light. Cole Tanner stood barefoot on the cold earth, stripped of his weapons, surrounded by the 12 warriors he was never meant to face. Their eyes burned with pride, but beneath their anger was something else. Respect for the man who dared to stand where none from his world ever had. Aiyana watched from the edge of the canyon, her heart pounding with every breath. "The spirits will judge your heart," he said. "You will cross the valley of pain and return with the flame stone. Only then will we know if your spirit is worthy of our daughter." Cole nodded silently. His face was marked with dust and determination. The path ahead looked endless, jagged rocks, scorching sand, and the shadows of vultures circling above. He knew it wasn't just a test of strength. It was a test of soul. The 12 warriors stood guard along the canyon's edge, each representing a virtue of the tribe: courage, loyalty, patience, wisdom, faith, and others lost to time. He began to walk. The sun climbed higher, burning into his skin. The ground cut his feet like blades. Memories of his past echoed with each step: battles fought, lives lost, promises broken. By midday, the heat had become unbearable. His vision blurred, his throat burned. He stumbled, falling to his knees in the sand. The wind howled around him, whispering doubts, trying to break him. But as he looked up, he saw a hawk circling above, just as he had when he first found Aiyana lost in the wilderness months ago. It was a sign, a reminder that fate wasn't cruel, only testing. Somewhere beyond the dunes, drums began to echo again. The tribe was watching, waiting. Aiyana whispered to herself, "He will return." He must. Her faith held steady even as fear clawed at her heart. As the sun dipped toward the west, Cole rose again, his body trembling but his will unbroken. The valley stretched before him, glowing red beneath the dying light. Ahead, the flame stone waited, a single shard of crystal said to burn with the fire of the earth's heart. He took one more breath and stepped forward. The desert would have its trial, but his heart already belonged to her. The sun sank low, painting the sky in streaks of red and gold as coal. Tanner stumbled through the final stretch of the valley. His skin was burned, his lips cracked, and every breath came like fire. Yet his eyes burned brighter than the horizon. He had walked through pain, faced thirst, and battled the ghosts of his past. Every step he took was a vow, not to win a prize, but to prove that love could rise even from the ashes of two different worlds. When the shadows lengthened, he reached the sacred hill. There, half buried in the dust, glowed the flame stone, a crimson shard pulsing with the heat of the earth. He knelt before it, his shaking hands brushing away the sand. For a moment, it felt as if the spirits themselves watched him. Behind him, the drums thundered once more. The 12 warriors stood at the edge of the valley, watching as he returned. His steps were slow but steady. When he entered the circle, silence fell over the tribe. The chief stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "You faced the desert," he said. "You faced your own fear. Tell us, stranger, what did you learn?" Cole's voice was rough but steady. "That the desert doesn't want strength. It wants truth. Out there, I saw who I am and who she is." For a long moment, no one spoke. The chief looked at his daughter. "Aiyana, your heart has chosen with courage. The spirits have spoken through him." Aiyana stepped forward, her eyes shining with tears. The tribe watched as the setting sun bathed them in gold, the flame stone glowing between their joined palms. The drums changed their rhythm, no longer of war, but of unity. Cole glanced at Aiyana, a faint smile touching his face. "Guess I passed your test." She laughed softly, her voice like wind over water. "No, Cole Tanner. We passed it together." As night fell over the canyon, the stars blinked awake, and the tale of the cowboy and the Apache girl became legend, a story carried forever on the breath of the desert wind. And if you've walked this far with them, remember, every story of courage deserves to be heard. So subscribe, stay with the fire, and let the next tale begin.